Hey y'all, it's Crystal. Thanks so much for coming by today. This that time of the week for me. You know what it is. The time for the weekly reading update. Just gonna talk about what all I got into last week for my reading and anything else I feel like chatting about. I finished a few things and I got lots of things in progress. It's one of those kinds of weeks. So yeah, that's it really. So let's get right into it. First of all, I did want to just mention a big thank you really. I just noticed yesterday that I had crossed over to 1,500 subscribers. I'm blown away. Thank you all so much for the continued support and watching my little space here on YouTube. It makes you feel good. It makes we always say that numbers don't matter and all that stuff, and ultimately they don't. But it is nice to it is nice to feel like people like you. You know what I mean? It's a boost to the old ego, So thank you very much, and I may do something to celebrate that coming up. I gotta put my thinking cap on, see what I can do for that, because I am very thankful, very, very, very thankful for you all. So thank you. Mwah. Okay. So let's hop into what I got into last week for my reading. So a few things that I finished. I don't think I'd finished this last week, but I did finish The Sister Who Ate Her Brothers and Other Gruesome Tales by Campbell. This is illustrated by Adam D'Souza. This was fantastic. This was absolutely amazing. I really loved this. It is technically, a children's book, picture book with really, really wonderful illustrations. And Jen has taken, tales from other cultures and put a little spin on them, and left in the dark bits, essentially. A lot of fairy tales are actually kind of dark, and sometimes they are a bit sanitized in certain things. Cough, cough, Disney, right? So she leaves in the dark. Some of these are actually kind of dark, It's like people getting killed and all kinds of stuff. But they were just really whimsical and fun, and just really lovely. This is a fantastic book, honestly. It's so wonderful. Highly recommend it. It's perfect. It really is. And so of course I've been participating in Folklore February, which is hosted by Kat from Kat's Novel Adventures, and it was a perfect thing to read for that event, and I just enjoyed the heck out of it. I loved this book. I don't even know if I could pick a favorite. Honestly, they were all so good. They're so good. I mean, and the stories, there's Korea, Ireland, Japan, Norway, Nigeria, an Inuit story, Egypt, Germany, Russia, El Salvador, South Africa, India, China, and Spain. So, yeah, definitely it spans the globe of all these little stories. I highly recommend. It's so good. And Jen, of course, has a wonderful YouTube channel here on YouTube, BookTube, and I always love to hear her talk about books, and so yeah, check her out here on YouTube. Also, if you're not already subscribed, but she's lovely. This book is lovely. I loved it. 5 stars, baby. All right, the next step, I finished a few more stories for Folklore February. While doing some sprints. Kat hosted some sprints last weekend? Yeah. And one of the prompts on her bingo board is to read some Hans Christian Andersen stories. And so I actually pulled up an audiobook and listened to a few stories. I listened to The Little Match Girl, The Emperor's New Clothes, and The Princess and the Pea. And I actually, these are stories that you think these stories, and then you actually read them and they're like, oh, that's kind of different than what I thought the story was about, but the gist is there, So I read those 3 Hans Christian Andersen stories. So check mark those off of the board, and I'm making pretty good progress on the board. I think I did watch an adaptation. I watched The Brave Little Tailor on Disney Plus, which is kind of a take on The Gallant Tailor, which is a Brothers Grimm story. This is a Mickey Mouse version. And I used to love that one growing up, I remember. And so I watched it, years and years and years. And it's cute. And so anyway, yeah, it's been really fun participating in Folklore February. It was a really fun event. So, okay, and then on to basically something absolutely, totally, completely different. I finished my short story collection that I've been working through this month. We Are Here to Hurt Each Other by Paula Ashe. And when I tell you that this is a perfect short story collection, this is a perfect short story collection. It is. I rarely give 5 stars to short story collections. Let me just say, just because, stories are so different, and sometimes sometimes ones hit a little differently than others. All of these are good. All of these stories are good. They are dark. They are disturbing. They are so good. So, but content warnings for familial abuse, violence, incest, child abuse in general, but holy moly, Paula Ashe can write. Okay, Paula Ashe can write a story. This is what I'm just gonna say. I fucking loved this story, these stories, and I might do a little book chat separate for these, because I kind of would like to talk a little bit about each story, honestly, because they're so good. So if you're looking for dark, disturbing short stories, you gotta get into this, because it's so good. And then just yesterday, I had a little time. I said, let me find an audiobook on my Friday work day, and just listen to an audiobook. I was looking for something, on the shorter side, because I only had, my work day, and had this one on my list. I said, this is short. Let me give it a go. Yeah, let's give it a go. So I listened to The Fifth Child by Doris Lessing. This is a book I had some very strong feelings when I was finished with this one. Let me tell you. I think I'll do a separate chat on this one too, because I got some thoughts. I have some thoughts, and holy moly, this book. I don't even know what to say. This book. Nothing usually bothers me. Nothing really, usually bothers me. I can read just about everything. There's a scene in this book where I actually felt a bit triggered. I was like, holy hell. It's a book. Yeah. So this was written in the 80s. I think it was 1988. And it takes place in the 60s. So we've got this man and this woman. They meet, they fall in love, they decide on their life together, that they are planning on a lot of children, that's already in their works for them. Like, they want lots of kids, and even though most people aren't having lots of kids these days, and but they've got their life, how they're gonna set it out how they want it. And so they have kids, and they have 1, 2, 3, and they have 4, and then the 5th child comes around, and he's born a bit differently, and story goes from there, essentially. And I can't even talk about it right now, because this story is something else. The kid is different. But it's how the people around him react to him. That put me over the edge. There is a scene in which this kid was institutionalized. That was the most disturbing part for me personally. Again, personal reasons. It was extremely hard for me to read. But this book was something. Struggles with motherhood, pressures of motherhood, being the perfect mom, then also being blamed when there's something like wrong with the child, because it's the mother's fault. Societal pressures of having perfect children, familial pressures from having perfect children. It's all in here. It's all in here. And it just, for me personally, it was a tough read. But I also think it was really good. You know what I mean? I think the way the story was handled, the way the characters were portrayed, I think everything was done really well in a very kind of dark, disturbing, horrific way. People do call this a horror story. I absolutely totally see that. It's impactful. So I think I'm going to do a separate little book chat on it, just to kind of get some thoughts out there about how I personally felt reading it. But yeah, whoa, the fifth child. Whoa. Okay. Thanks for everything else. Is stuff I've got in progress. I did officially DNF the Mary Spencer. I just was not enjoying this. The first story was like the best one that I read, and then when you have to DNF short stories, like, you're not feeling this. So this was pretty disappointing actually, but I'm gonna let it go. I've officially, I don't know if I officially had DNF'd it last week, but officially I've let it go. It's going on my stack of unhaul books over there in the corner. So yeah, I'm letting that go, and that's fine. It's fine. I did read a little bit more Midnight Tides. It's book 5 of the Malazan series. I think I read a chapter. We've pushed back our sort of chat date with Steve Talks books, so I'm just taking my time with it. This is one I listen to the audio while following along in the book, and it helps me get through this story. I'm enjoying it. I mean, it's Malazan, you know. So I think I just like taking my time with it and appreciating it slowly as I go. I did start Blind Sight by Peter Watts. I don't think I started this last week. No, I think I started it Monday. So I've not made too much progress on that, but this is the book club pick for the New Worlds SF book club. And so far I'm enjoying it. It's kind of it's kind of strange, kind of like what's going on kind of thing. It's kind of the classic trope though of like, we send a crew from Earth out to investigate, something, that is unknown, like an unknown craft, an unknown sound, and it's this sort of ragtag crew, we're getting basically from one guy's perspective, but of course one of the characters is a vampire, and it's kind of bizarre, but so far so good. It's a bit what's the word? It's a bit of a hard kind of more sci-fi. I'm not saying it's difficult to read. It's not difficult to read or understand, but it's not like easy breezy. That makes sense. But so far, I'm really enjoying it. Enjoying the writing. The characters are super interesting. I want to know what's going on. What's going to happen. I need to get on. I need to finish this one up though. But yeah, enjoying that. Still digging into my buddy read with Brad Proctor. We read Moon Witch, Spider King by Marlon James. He's made a start on that, so I'm getting back into this too. And again, this is another one I'm doing the audio while I read along with it. And I'm enjoying working my way through this book like that also. It helps me with, even just with pronunciation of some of the names, things like that. It helps. And Bonnie Turpin is the narrator, and she's like one of my favorite audiobook narrators, and she does an excellent job. And I absolutely love Bonnie Turpin, and so I'm enjoying this book very much. And that's really about it. That's kind of, I didn't finish a whole lot this month, this week, but it just was one of those weeks, So into next week, of course, February's almost over, so I feel I want to finish Blind Sight. I like to finish that before the end of the month. We'll see. I don't know. Malazan and the Marlon James book, I'll just kind of continue on through into March and continue reading those, of course. And then March is coming. I need to get my TBR together because it's right around the corner, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's my week. So kind of short and sweet this time around. Oh, I do have another thing in progress. I did start the audiobook for The Great God Pan. I'm getting a little jump start on Week of Weird. The Great God Pan by Arthur Machen. I have never read this book, and I just wanted to read it. And I had a little bit of time, and it's just like a couple hours on audio. I've got, I think, just a half an hour left on it or something like that. And I'm enjoying it. It's very strange, slightly creepy. Yeah, it's pretty good so far. So I'll finish that out soon. But other than that, I think that's it. So other than that, that's really about, that's kind of my week. I know hadn't really done too much. We watched the latest episode of The Last of Us, of course. I did start a new show. I finished the Portia series that I was watching with my sister. My sister and I, okay, my sister lives way across the country in Oregon, and I live in North Carolina, and we have been watching these shows together, and then not like at the same time, but like we'll be watching them and then like chatting about them as we go. So we finished Portia recently. It is so good. It's so good. And then we've just started a new one called Moonlight Chicken. It's another Thai show. And I'm just on episode 2, and it's so sweet. This one isn't as kind of crazy pants as Portia was. It's really more of a quiet story about this man who runs this restaurant, and it's during like COVID times, and so like things are getting kind of tough. He's having a hard time paying his bills, and he meets this other man, and he's reluctant to like really get into a relationship, but I'm thinking it's gonna get into a relationship. And this one has a bit more drama, a bit more serious tone to it, but it's filmed really beautifully, and I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see where this story goes. So Moonlight Chicken, we're reading that, or we're watching that one now. So that's things I'm watching. And that, yeah, I'm just blabbering now. So let me know what you're reading, what you're watching. I want to know. And thanks for watching. That's going to do it for me today. Appreciate your time, like always. And again, thanks again for subscribing and watching. It really does mean a lot. So I hope you're well, and bye. See you next time.